Now joining us with sports is Jack Bennick. Jack, what you got for us today?
Yeah, there's a lot of St. Cloud State action this weekend, so let's get right into it. Starting things off with the wrestling team who will be starting their NSIC season tomorrow. Coming off a statement win against Chadron State, the Huskies will look to continue their NSIC dominance. They have won 7 straight NSIC titles, including an undefeated conference record last year. They have also won 60 consecutive dual matches in the NSIC, dating all the way back to 2011. The Huskies are currently ranked number 1 in the nation following their national title last season. They will be on the road taking on Southwest Minnesota State tomorrow at 7 p.m. From the mats to the pool, where both the girls and guys swim and dive teams will be in action this weekend at the Rochester Invite, which will run from Friday all the way to Sunday. Both teams have built some momentum throughout the month of November. They both placed first at the St. Thomas Invite at the beginning of November, and they followed that up with impressive wins against the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. The guys team won this meet by a score of 219-80, and the girls team won with a score of 223-77. The Huskies will look to carry this momentum into the weekend. Taking things to the hardwood now, where the St. Cloud State men's basketball team will be in action this weekend. The Huskies will be taking on Minnesota Duluth at home on Saturday. The Huskies came into the game 5-1 and will look to continue to build on their strong start to the season. The Huskies will be leaning on stars like Gage Davis, who is averaging 20 points a game as well as 8 rebounds. Sean Smith has also contributed his fair share to the team's success. He is averaging 15.2 points per game while shooting 59% from the field and averaging 8.3 rebounds a game as well. Staying with the men's basketball team and taking a look at the NSIC standings here in the early parts of the season. St. Cloud State sits atop the North Division with a 5-1 record. They are followed by Minnesota Crookston, who are 6-2. Bemidji State and Minnesota Duluth both sit at 3-1. Minnesota Moorhead is 5-2, and they are followed by Northern State, who are 4-2. Minot State and the University of Mary round out the NSIC, with Minot State holding a 4-4 record and Mary having a 2-3 record. Looking at women's basketball now, where the Lady Huskies will also be in action against Duluth on Saturday. This game will tip off at 2 p.m. in Hollenbeck Hall. The Huskies sit at 3-1 and have won their last 2 games, including a very impressive 97-29 win over Northland College last weekend. Molly Doucette is averaging 14.8 points per game this season. Madeline Damon is the only other Husky averaging over 10 points a game, as she averages 13.5 a game. There's no doubt that the Huskies will look to Doucette and Damon to help keep up their momentum as they enter conference play.
Well, thanks, Jack. Sounds like a very exciting weekend of sports.
You're welcome. Starting things off with hockey, the USCHO men's polls were released yesterday, and St. Cloud State is ranked number 6. The top 5 in the preseason poll start with defending champion Minnesota Duluth. They are followed by Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan. And rounding out the top 5 is Providence. The Huskies had a good year last year, winning the NCHC regular season championship and getting into the NCAA tournament as the number 1 overall seed. Unfortunately for the Huskies, they were eliminated in the first round of the tournament by Air Force. From national rankings to conference rankings, let's take a look at how the NCHC preseason rankings shape up. Minnesota Duluth takes the top spot with 20 first-place votes, and following them is St. Cloud State. North Dakota and Western Michigan take the number 3 and 4 spots. Denver takes the number 5 spot, and Colorado College follows them. Rounding out the NCHC are Omaha and Miami. The NCHC has had a lot of success the last few years, as the last 3 national champions have come out of the NCHC. With 5 NCHC teams in the top 20 nationally, many teams will be fighting to keep that streak going. Staying with NCHC news, Media Day was today. Players and coaches gathered at the Xcel Energy Center and discussed the upcoming season. The NCHC will be entering their 6th season of competition, and this is the 2nd straight year that Media Day is taking place. St. Cloud State senior defenseman Jimmy Schultz took over the NCHC Twitter page for 15 minutes this morning and received questions from fans. And this time he talked about some of the things he enjoys doing off the ice, the friendly competition amongst the team, and his pregame nap ritual. Taking things to the diamond, where the Huskies baseball team is back on the field. The St. Cloud State coaches drafted their teams for the annual SCSU Red-White Baseball World Series. Game 1 was played yesterday, and Game 2 will be held at Joe Faber Field this Friday at 4 p.m. Game 3 is set for noon on Saturday at Putz Field. The remaining games are still to be announced. The Huskies will look to have another good year after a 30-17 finish last year. They were eliminated by number 14 Southern Arkansas in the Central Region Tournament. Keeping things outside with golf, the St. Cloud State Huskies men's golf team wrapped up the Gustavus Twin Cities Golf Classic yesterday. St. John's won the tournament with a score of 902, a whopping 13 strokes ahead of second place Manitoba. St. Cloud State placed 6th at the tournament. The Huskies were led by Troy and Riley Duncanson, who finished 12th and 14th individually. Another notable name for the Huskies is Regan Steen, who finished 41st in the individual competition. The Huskies will be back in action this weekend at the Augustana University Invite in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
It's a great time of year to be a Husky sports fan. Seasons have just begun and others are in full swing.
There were a lot of Huskies athletics in action this past weekend, and we'll recap everything on this episode.
Husky Mag starts right now. Yeah, thanks, Nick. We have a lot of action to cover on this episode, so let's get things rolling with the men's hockey team. They took on the University of Omaha this weekend, and Friday's game started well for the Huskies, with Jack Paling scoring within the first 2 minutes of a game to give the Huskies a 1-0 lead. In the second period, it was Jimmy Scholt netting his 5th goal of the season, and that gave the Huskies a 2-0 lead. This score would hold as the Huskies take Game 1 2-0. On Saturday, the Huskies looked to complete the sweep against the Mavericks. The Huskies got going quickly in this one also, as this time it was Blake Lizotte scoring within the first 2 minutes of the game. The Mavericks would answer though, as in the second period, Zach Jordan tied the game up. This tie would not last long, as Robbie Jackson scored just 35 seconds later to give the Huskies a 2-1 lead. This was just the start for the Huskies, as they would score 2 more times in the second period and 3 in the third, all while not allowing the Mavericks to score another goal. The Huskies complete the sweep with a dominating 7-1 win. Now taking a look at the NCHC standings. St. Cloud State is at the top. They are 13-1-2 overall and 6-0-2 in the conference. Following them is Western Michigan and Minnesota Duluth, who both sit at 4-3-1 in the NCHC. Denver is 4-4, with Miami following them at 3-3-2. North Dakota is 3-5 in the NCHC, and rounding out the NCHC, it's Omaha and Colorado College, who both sit at 2-5-1 conference records. Now taking a look at the USCHO poll, the Huskies are back at the top after their sweep of Nebraska-Omaha. Following them is Massachusetts. After a split with Quinnipiac, they dropped 1 spot to number 2. Minnesota State and Minnesota Duluth are 3-4 after Mankato came away with a sweep over Alaska Anchorage, and Duluth could only muster 1 point in their series against Western Michigan. Quinnipiac and Notre Dame come in at number 5 and 6. Ohio State comes in at number 7 following a weekend off. Number 8 is the third and final NCHC team in the top 10, as it's Denver, coming off a split with North Dakota.